It was the first day of spring. Well, technically, it was still nighttime, but you, Trisket, and Rosalita were wide awake just as the clock struck midnight, because it was time for Fiesta, the twice-nightly ritual that almost all cats celebrate by running, playing, jumping, wrestling, twisting, turning, chasing, and laughing. Normally, you three celebrate Fiesta at 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., but tonight was a special night with one extended Fiesta right at midnight, because the first day of spring is a very big deal to wild things. It goes back thousands of years, the need to celebrate the renewal of life, and it's in your blood. You can't not celebrate the first day of spring. So, just as the digital clock said 1, 2, 0, and 0, the three of you crept quietly out of bed by giggling and stepping on your dad's face and convened in the living room. It was your week to serve as activities director, and thus far you had done your usual fantastic job of putting together games and contests that were not only fun, but also very good cardio for Trisket, who's, trying to slim down a little bit. Now, Rosalita, still being so young, sometimes had trouble keeping up with you and Trisket, but it's so good for her growth and development to be challenged, and she never, ever complained. And you, Shadow, you are such a sweet boy that you invented 1 or 2 specific activities that you knew she'd have an advantage in, like games like Couch Race, where competitors would run around the couch twice, over it once, and then under it the long way. Couch Race was an event she always won because you and Trisket tend to get a little bit wedged under the couch. Yeah, because you're so much bigger. Buddy, that was so sweet of you to think of doing that. But that was on a regular night. Tonight's Fiesta was very special and thus deserved a very special schedule of activities. In honor of the first day of spring, the events you created were Hide and Hide, where you guys would hide all of your crinkle balls as far back as possible under various bookshelves, and then you just leave them there for your dad to retrieve later. What else? The Klinginator, where each contestant would jump up onto one of the drapes and then tries to cling to them as long as possible. There was, a cat grass eating contest, immediately followed by a puking contest, with points awarded for distance, accuracy, and style. And the premier event, the Leap of Dangerousness. Now, Trisket wasn't super thrilled that you included this last event because she felt like it was too dangerous for baby Rosalita. This was the first point of discussion during the Fiesta pregame, where you all had some kibble and water and got ready for the games to begin. Yeah, you like the story so far? So you had your pre-game meeting. Shadow, said Trisket, as she munched on some kibble. Did you remove the Leap of Dangerousness from tonight's activities list? I don't think it would be a very good idea to celebrate the renewal of life by putting Rosalita in the hospital. Well, buddy, Rosalita did not care for this one bit, and she stood up on her hind legs and crossed her front paws in front of her, and she said, "I'm big. I can do any event that you guys do." Now, in addition to being a very sweet boy, you are also quite reasonable and very clever, and you knew that it would hurt Rosalita's feelings to cancel the event on account of her being too little. So, you thought fast, and you said, "Actually, I just read in the official Fiesta rulebook that the leap of dangerousness is calibrated based on age. Kittens under 1 year of age have to only leap a little ways. Triscuit's left eyebrow just about touched the top of her head. Oh, really, Shadow? You read that? And you said, yep, I wrote it down and then I read it. And you all laughed and laughed. Then you said, okay, Triscuit, lady's choice. Which event should we kick Fiesta off with tonight? And her decision would prove to be quite fateful, because it would actually end this fiesta prematurely. But we'll get to that in a minute. Triscuit rubbed her chin with her paw and said, well, I don't want us to be tired before doing the leap of dangerousness, so let's start with that one. And Shadow, you jumped up in the air, being so careful not to land on the baby, and you clapped your paws together, because the whole reason you invented this game was because you wanted to impress Triscuit with not only your jumping ability, but also your ability to track any object through the air using only your hearing. Because, of course, buddy, you know, you don't have eyes. The game was simple, but quite challenging. Each contestant would start up on the Cloud City wall furniture, sponsored post coming, created by our friends at Catastrophic Creations. The adult cats would start at the highest level on the far left side, and from a complete standstill, leap all the way across to land on the far right side. However, and as if that wasn't enough, the two kitties not competing at that moment would throw a crinkle ball each to the competitor, who would attempt to catch them both mid-jump. As you explained the rules again to Triscuit and Rosalita, you told them about the age amendment. And the age amendment would have Rosalita start at the lowest level, and she would just jump down to the soft, fluffy couch while trying to catch the crinkle balls. It's a very, very clever idea you came up with, buddy. Well, everybody seemed really happy with this adjustment, but Rosalita had a question. Triscuit smiled at her and said, Rosalita, if you have a question, you can just ask it. You don't have to raise your paw. And you reached out and gave Rosa a playful tousle of her head. Rosa said, how come you guys don't start your jump from the top of the cat tree? Wouldn't that be even harder? Triscuit's eyes got wide and she shook her head. Shadow, she said, don't you see how your daredevil antics get into her head? Rosalita, the cat tree is very wiggly and wobbly and is not a suitable platform from which to jump from or onto. Please don't ever do that, okay? Rosalita nodded vigorously to show that she would obey her big sister. And you added, yeah, what Triscuit said, that would be madness. Plus, see, with our way, we'd still land on Cloud City even if we fell short. But if we were to jump from the cat tree, we'd have nothing but many, many feet of nothing under our paws most of the way across. Falling from that height could be deadly, because we'd be running the risk of landing on all of Dad's stuff that he always leaves on the couch. Plates, glasses, his laptop. That would be madness. Rosalita, you said, promise us both that you'll never try that. Oh, I promise, Rosalita said. I will never make such a crazy leap. And with that, the games were underway. Well, for about 5 minutes anyway. You see, as activities director, it was your honor to go first in each event. This was also a responsibility, as the AD needs to demonstrate the event in case it's new to some of the contestants. And even though you are regarded across all of Instagram as one of the world's most accomplished jumpers, you were just a little bit off your game for some reason. And buddy, the jump didn't go well. I mean, maybe it was the excitement of spring. Maybe you'd pre-gamed a little too hard. But whatever the reason, as you made your leap, you misjudged the distance a little bit. Oh, sure, you caught both crinkle balls. You surely did, buddy. One in your left paw and the other in your mouth. But you overshot the landing just enough to send you sliding over the far side of the platform, bouncing off the living room wall and landing behind the couch with a thud. Trisket said, "Oh no, Rosalita, did you see that?" And Rosalita said, "I saw something." And the two of them darted under the couch to check on you. Luckily, you weren't badly hurt, but you sure were shaken up, buddy. You had bonked your head on the wall pretty good, and when you tried to push yourself under the couch, you couldn't. Your left rear paw really, really hurt. Now, Trisket took charge of the situation. She's always been the cool-headed one in emergencies. "Rosalita," she said, "you grab that paw, and I'll grab this one, and we'll scooch backwards and pull him out." I mean, Shadow, you felt a little silly, but you sure were glad they were there to help you. And honestly, it felt kind of nice to have your sisters be so worried about you and take care of you like this. It almost made the pain in your back paw go away. Almost, but not quite, because it really hurt. Now, out on the middle of the living room rug, Rosalita arranged the big fluffy pink blanket while Trisket placed you on it gingerly, which is the only way ginger cats like to do things. Looking at your paw and asking you to wiggle your beans, Trisket tisked and said, "Well, it's not broken, but that's it for Fiesta tonight. You have a bad sprain, buddy, and you bonked your head good. But you are lucky to be alive," she said. "No more leap of dangerousness, okay? But honestly, you were having such a delicious time being fawned over that you were not only in no mood to argue, you were starting to ham it up a little bit." "Mama," you said weakly. "Is that you, Mama? I hear the angels singing. Can you hear them, Mama?" Trisket snorted a laugh in spite of herself, and she reached out a paw to gently rub Rosalita's head because her eyes had gone extra wide with concern over the crazy things you were saying. "Shadow, I would think that you had just suffered brain damage if you didn't always act this goofy. Let's just hang out here and sing some songs to welcome in spring. You shouldn't go to sleep after hitting your head like that." So, as the big, beautiful moon traced its way across the living room window, and the cold San Francisco air, which smelled so deliciously of the ocean, wafted its way across the apartment, the three of you snuggled up on the fluffy pink blanket and sang some of your favorite songs that Dad always played on his Alexa. Songs like Black Dog by Led Zeppelin and Monkey Wrench by Foo Fighters. You know, fun songs like that. Now, after only 2.5 songs, and just before you all got to the really crazy part of Monkey Wrench, baby Rosalita was fast asleep, and you and Trisket spent the rest of the night just talking about stuff. Your hopes and dreams for the future, what life was like for Trisket before I adopted her, what it was like here before you joined the family, and what it was like for the two of you before Rosalita arrived. You had never had such an open and honest conversation with Trisket before. And you finally felt that you could ask her something you'd always wondered about. Trisket, you said, were you disappointed to get a brother who doesn't have any eyes? The room was so quiet, except for Rosalita's tiny snores. And you heard Trisket slowly turn her head toward you. Shadow, why would you ever think that? Of course not. It was a little new for me at first, but I was never disappointed. To be honest, I don't even think about it anymore. I always forget that you don't have eyes. You're amazing, and I love you just as you are. You laid your head back on the fluffy pink blanket, and you smiled and said, "Okay, thanks. I just wanted to be sure." You had to admit later, it was probably the most fun fiesta you'd ever experienced. And you were a little disappointed to see the sky start to lighten. But you were so glad that you and Trisket had had the opportunity to strengthen your bond even more. And even though you didn't think it could be possible, you felt even more love for her after that night. So, given all of that, it was absolutely no wonder that you would be so shocked and so confused and so sad when later that morning, Rosalita came to you and told you what she overheard Trisket say to me in the kitchen. You're snoring. Okay, buddy, that's all for today. You nap. I'm going to leave it on that cliffhanger. I'll read you the rest of the story tomorrow.